Well, having heard so much about sustainability this morning and about the challenges and opportunities of PVC in this field of sustainability, my challenge now is to bring it down to numbers and to markets actually for PVC. So what does it mean? And what does it mean for the vinyl markets globally as we see here? Where do we come from? Where we stand right now? And what trends and drivers will drive the future development of PVC? I would like to start very briefly with PVC in the plastics family. So at the end it shows the global success story of plastics, not only PVC, of plastics, which started in the 50s of the last century. And as you see, we have seen an ongoing growth. Calculating the numbers, we have a compounded annual growth rate of 8.6% between 1950 and 2015. But also taking into account what we have heard this morning, it is also, I would say, a remarkable benefit for the society. But it is raising questions about sustainable development and more specifically about the sustainable management of materials. And with highlights on Vinyl 2010 and Vinyl Plus, I would say PVC was not doing too bad on giving answers on these challenges. Is PVC just another plastic? In terms of growth rates, we can say yes. And the average growth from 2014 to 2015 was, as you can see here, 3.4%. And PVC is in line with the average growth of the plastics development in the last year. So how important is PVC? Having a look on the global plastics family, the message is PVC is very important. It's in fact ranking number 2 after the huge piece of the polyolefins. It is an important resin, and it's not only important due to its size, it's also important due to its performance, its versatility, and also environmental compatibility. So while each plastic has its strengths, and PVC is called a versatile material, it is found in all segments at the end and in numerous applications. But we really can state here that PVC is the building plastic for long-living applications, which is an important characteristic of our material here. The growth story, what we can say is fundamentally intact. We have seen an average growth rate per year from 2000 to 2007, so before crisis, of 4.7%. As you can see, we saw the huge dip which we had in demand for PVC during the crisis 2008 and 2009, but demand growth recovered. We have seen a market growth of about 3.7% from 2010 to 2015, and based on IMF outlook, which stems from October 2015, the expectations for the next years to come is about a growth which will continue in a range of 3.8%. The largest market itself is the Northeast Asian market, and therein predominantly it is China, accounting for almost 50% of the total PVC demand, followed by North America with 13%, and Western plus Central Eastern Europe with 12%. But again, from an European point of view, we have to confess that Europe is at least not anymore the hub of the world in terms of PVC. Per capita consumption of PVC is typically indicating about what potential for future growth we have and where we do see mature markets where there's still growing markets. And not surprising, we see with an average per capita consumption of 5.8 kg per year and capita, we see that North America, as well as Northeast Asia, Western Europe, and even Central Europe is more or less above this average, while we have some way to go in CIS, South Central Americas, Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Indian subcontinent. Due to the relatively high transportation cost, PVC is not really a global market. It's still very regional, and from that point of view, only 11% of the total consumption of the total PVC was traded across borders, across regions, across continents. And the outlook is for 2020 that this will not completely change. We expect only a little increase up to 13%. The other region I would like to point out is West Europe. West Europe always traditionally was a net exporter of PVC. The question is, will it continue? And this has a lot to do with, let's say, the global competitiveness of the European PVC industry. But it also has to do something with the chlorine conversion from mercury to membrane, which has a clear deadline, end of 2017. So this brings some PVC capacities in Europe in doubt, and this also will be decisive about how material lies and how strong will be the export share of the European PVC production. Having a look on applications, we talked about window profiles this morning quite intensively. So the pipes and fittings is the largest application if you talk about global PVC applications, followed by profiles and tubes. Films and sheets are in number 3 position, and then we have several other applications with lower shares. The picture in Europe, in particular in EEA, is to some extent different. Traditionally, and this has not changed over the last years, traditionally it's not the pipes and fittings which are representing the most important, the most sizable application. It's the profiles business which represents the number 1, followed by pipes and fittings. And other applications to follow here, rigid films, flexible films. It is remarkable and worth to mention, I would say, that we have here lots of applications which are not shown here, and we also have a quite sizable others, which again demonstrates the versatility of PVC as a material. It also demonstrates the high grade of differentiation in a mature market like the European market. So in fact, if we have a look on the top 10 PVC producers globally, it is almost not surprising that primarily Asian and US companies show up in this top 10 list. The only strong player globally, not only in Europe but globally here out of Europe, which is necessary to mention, is Innovine, ranking number 3. Having a look on the development of the PVC industry in Europe, and you see a kind of consolidation process which is ongoing almost since 30 years now. So you see the numbers of different companies which were producing PVC in Western Europe in the 80s, and you see that lots of consolidation was ongoing, and this consolidation was getting a boost in the last 2 to 3 years, starting with the formation of Innovine as a combination of the former Ineos and Solvay or Solvine business. As a consequence and as a, let's say, a condition of clearance of the EU merger control, Vinnolit was formed subsequently. As we see, Vinnolit is now acquired by Westlake, but still is the European hub of Westlake. The same is true with Vinnolit now being in Mexican hands. You see Chem 1 here as the more or less unchanged, let's say, successor of Arkema and former times Atochem. I think it's also worth to mention that most of these companies shown here and displayed here are also actively supporting Vinyl Plus. In fact, it's Innovine, it's Vinova, it's Vinnolit, Vinnolit, and also Shinetsu. We strongly believe that PVC has a good future. We expect a growth rate ranging from 3.5 to 3.8%. There is the golden rule of thumb to say the PVC growth follows the GDP growth. And this is what is confirmed more or less on this chart, which you can see here, to say GDP development in the blue line is more or less parallel to the PVC demand development in the last couple of years. There are a number of global megatrends. We have heard some of them. We will hear more about this in the afternoon session. Expected to shape the world in the next decades. Large, transformative, truly global forces with a far-reaching impact on the way we live and the development of our economies. And some of the megatrends appear to be also particular of relevance for PVC in our businesses. So, taking demographics, global population is about to grow further. People are talking about 8-9 billions in some years. So growth means more homes for all of these people. Growth, global population growth also means more construction, more transportation, more of everything. An aging population is in developed economies will require higher spending on healthcare and medical care products, as well as in health infrastructure. And better healthcare and access to clean water and sanitation will lead to an increased life expectancy and population in developing countries. And hence PVC has an important role to play and will help to serve these people's needs. So globalization in our eyes as such is a growth driver. Growing global middle class will have access to higher standards of living and higher disposable income. Emerging market and developing economies will catch up in PVC per capita consumption, which I've shown you before. And not to forget to these developments, PVC will contribute, has contributed, will further contribute with essential, reliable and affordable performance products. The next driver which we see, again, we have talked about that 70% of global population will live in cities at some time. So urbanization is a driver and will require infrastructure. It means that continuously people are migrating and moving into large cities. And this requires major investments in new housing, public building, business premises, recreational areas, energy supply, as well as in transport infrastructure. And coming to the overview about what is PVC like, what are the typical applications for PVC, we have to remind that PVC as the building plastic will play an important role in this trend. Climate change is a challenge, that's true. As the PVC industry, I think we can take this challenge as an opportunity. So thinking about increasing CO2 emissions, there is a need to offset potential negative effects by using lightweight, recyclable and carbon-efficient materials. And PVC is excellent positioned here, I would say. It's the lowest consumer of energy of all commodity plastics and significantly lower compared to traditional materials like metals. It has a relatively low carbon content, since it's mainly made from rock salt, and which is an abundant resource. And again, referring to Vinnolit, it can be recycled, which we have demonstrated for a couple of years now successfully. So climate change will also impair nutritional care. Arable land is limited, water is scarce, and there is a need for efficient land use and irrigation. Again, PVC pipes will play a key role in terms of water supply and drainage. So sustainability thinking, and this is the next driver which we can use as an opportunity, will shape the regulatory landscape in the future. Sustainable resource management has already globally gained in importance, and for sure it will get more and more important and will be more and more in the center of the government's agenda. In addition to an ever more demanding regulatory landscape, consumer behavior will change, asking for progress in corporate social responsibility. This is something which we can observe already here in Europe in the developed countries, and we are sure that sooner or later this will spread out in the emerging markets. And the challenge here is, if it is not properly addressed, that it could result in an increasing number of deselections in several markets. So this is an opportunity, again, for PVC, and PVC can display its resource efficiency, it is durable, and it is recyclable. And not to forget, Vinnolit is the most suitable tool, I think, which we have demonstrated for quite a while in the European industry. So these are opportunities which arise, let's say, from the global trend of the markets. But I think the industry also has to tackle the challenge and the opportunity of innovation. At the end, the question is how to achieve sustainable management of PVC. In our eyes, innovation is fundamental to industry's progress to sustainability, but innovation is also crucial in intermaterial competition with respect to production economies, with regards to the total cost of ownership, of regards to favorable life cycle assessments and ultimately a positive product image, understanding the consumer's needs and being active in developing what consumers are asking us. Consequently, there is a constant need for environmental improvements and performance and efficiency gains to maintain the excellent cost-performance ratio of PVC and lower its environmental footprint. This, of course, is challenging, and you can see some of the keywords here listed, from renewable raw materials down to ultimately new business models.